In this video, we are comparing the Michelin Primacy 5 versus the Goodyear MaxGuard Assurance SUV, two of the leading SUV comfort tyres out there in the market. We won't guess, we will test them in wet grip, dry control, noise comfort, and rolling resistance to find out which tyre actually suits your SUV's daily driving need. Let's find out. Hey guys, have you guys ever experienced a wet braking accident? So here we are at the wet braking track to find out how each tyre performs at different wet braking distances. So this car actually accelerates all the way from 80 all the way down to 0, and we are looking at the braking distance. Bam, here. And we will evaluate different tyres to see how much this distance actually differs.
The Goodyear Assurance MaxGuard SUV stopped from the test speed in 40.4 meters, while the Michelin Primacy 5, 35.1 meters. That means the Michelin is around 23% better in wet braking. And forget percentages for a second. This is a difference of 5.3 meters. In an emergency stop, that is enormous. By the time Michelin has already stopped, the Goodyear could be still traveling at a meaningful speed. For an SUV tyre designed primarily for everyday road use, this is probably the single most important results for the whole comparison. Unfortunately for Goodyear, things doesn't get much better once we reach the wet handling track. Goodyear completes the lap in 95.29 seconds. Michelin, 87.81 seconds. That makes the Primacy 5 roughly 10% better in wet handling performance. And that's a massive lap time difference. But the subjective scores tells an equally important story. Goodyear scores 5 out of 10, while Michelin scores 7. That gives Michelin again around a 22% advantage subjectively. So Michelin isn't simply producing a faster lap, the driver also feels more confidence behind the wheel, more grip, more predictability, and better control when the tyre is approaching the limit. This is exactly what you want from a premium road tyre.
Guys, have you ever wondered when you are driving in the wet and suddenly when you accelerate and you drive through a puddle, suddenly your cars lose control? This is what we call aquaplaning, and today we are at the aquaplaning track and we're trying to measure how much your slipping speed is. So the car actually goes at top speed, and what we are trying to find out is where your tyre actually stops turning as fast as the other tyres.
In longitudinal aquaplaning, the Goodyear loses contact at 72.7 km per hour. The Michelin holds on until 77.8 km per hour. That's around a 7% advantage for the Michelin. 5 km per hour might not sound dramatic, but aquaplaning resistance is one of those characteristics you hopefully never notice until you really need it. And once again, Michelin gives you the bigger safety margin. So after 3 wet tests, wet braking, wet handling, aquaplaning, Michelin has swept the entire wet category.
For SUVs, dry braking is all about safety and control. In this dry braking test, the SUV stops from 100 km per hour down to 0 to measure how different tyres have different stopping distance. So a shorter stopping distance reduces crash risk.
Surely Goodyear can recover in dry. Not yet. In dry braking, Goodyear needs 40.7 meters, while Michelin needs 36.6 meters. That makes Michelin around 15% better. Again, we are talking about more than 4 meters of stopping distance. And when you combine with 5.3 meter advantage we already saw in the wet, that's a very obvious pattern developing. If stopping distance is your priority, the Primacy 5 is on another level on this test. But finally, Goodyear gets its opportunity. In dry handling lap time, Goodyear has a 53.27 second, while Michelin has a 53.44 seconds. Basically identical. In fact, the Goodyear is fractionally faster, and subjectively, Goodyear scores 6.82, while Michelin scores 6.4. So while Michelin dominates braking, the MaxGuard SUV actually feels slightly better around the dry handling circuit. Sharper response, a little more confidence from the driver's seat. This is important because it shows Goodyear isn't simply a bad tyre. Its dry handling performance is actually very competitive, but the difference is nowhere near as large as Michelin's braking advantage.
Noise being one of the critical elements for SUV users, we are actually testing the interior noise of the tyres to see how well it performs. So how do we do it? We actually use a dummy head. So let's have a look. So this is a dummy head. It has 2 microphones on its ears, and it's actually measuring the interior noise of the car at 2 different speeds and 2 different surfaces. So why is it so important? So noise is very annoying for especially Asia customers, and we are actually trying to have a more smoother and more comfortable ride, which is what users are looking for SUV tires.
Moving into everyday refinement, comfort is essentially a draw. Interior noise is also incredibly close. Goodyear scores 66.1 decibel, while Michelin has 66.3 decibel. So technically, Goodyear is slightly quieter, but we are talking about 0.2 decibel. In the real world, you're probably not going to notice it. Call this one effectively even. And now we reach another huge Michelin advantage. Goodyear has a rolling resistance of 8.27, while Michelin has a 6.83 coefficient value. That gives Michelin approximately a 21% advantage in rolling resistance. And unlike handling feel, rolling resistance affects you almost every time you drive. Lower rolling resistance can contribute to better fuel economy or improve EV range. So Michelin manages something quite impressive here. It delivers significantly stronger wet grip, much shorter braking distances, and in the same time, lower rolling resistance. Normally, tire development involves trade-off. More grip often means sacrificing efficiency, but here, Michelin appears to have moved the entire performance envelope forward. So, which tire would I choose? For me, the Michelin Primacy 5 wins this comparison quite comfortably. The numbers are difficult to ignore. Around 23% better wet braking, 10% better wet handling, 7% better aquaplaning resistance, 15% better dry braking, and 21% better rolling resistance. That's an extremely strong package. The Goodyear Assurance MaxGuard SUV does have some small advantages. Its dry handling is marginally quicker. Subjectively, it also feels slightly better in the dry. And it's fractionally quieter. So if steering feel and dry handling characteristics are your main priorities, the Goodyear still have something to offer.
Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.